Welcome to episode 2 of the Almost Forgotten Outdoors. We are at the Stebbins Cold Canyon Reserve located just outside of Winters, California, entering the Lake Berryessa area. Today we are finishing the Blue Ridge Loop that we started on our first episode. The trail is a continuation of the Homestead Trail and loops back to the parking lot where this all began. You can also reach Annie's Trail after a bit of a climb, which will add a couple of more miles to your day hike. We decided to skip that portion as we were already on a 5-mile excursion today. This portion of the Blue Ridge Loop is harder than what we experienced during the Homestead Trail. There are a lot of stairs during the first portion and an altitude gain of about 1,500 feet in a very short distance. But as you will see, it is all well worth it for the views of Lake Berryessa. Right here is where I remembered how much of a pain these stairs can be when you're out of shape. It had been a long time since I had taken this trail last. I was both dreading and loving the idea of heading up to the top. I forgot to keep count for you on how many stairs there are, but I will just say there are plenty, and you probably won't want to climb stairs for a couple of days after your hike. There are plenty of great views once you start gaining some altitude. We did stop many times just to look back and see how far we'd come. It's a beautiful day, mid-60s weather-wise. And once we got to the top, plenty of birds to be seen enjoying the cool breezes. And here we have even more of my favorite stairs. You could definitely see the struggle with how bent over I am many times as we were heading up. Not gonna lie, I did have to stop a couple of times. Here we're getting closer to the ridge, and I was enjoying the idea of not having to climb for much longer. couple of quick history points while we're walking through here. Lake Berryessa is the largest lake in Napa County. Below Berryessa is Monticello, a flooded town. People and at least 300 grave sites were moved out of Monticello in 1956 when the spillway was installed. This is the Annie's Head Trail beginning. Like I said, it adds about 2 3/4 mile to the trail if you were to take it. Another quick point of fun history, not too far from this area, is where one of the Zodiac killings happened. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. Cecilia did die, but Brian did survive by faking his death. And the crime was allegedly reported by the killer himself. Brian's account of the events is the reason we know the Zodiac wore a dark hood with the white crosshairs on it. We're now out of the area with the stairs, but we do still have some climbing to go. A couple of peaks that will have to be conquered. A lot of rocky area to make your way around as well. But look at the views. Some more quick history of the area. In 1843, the Mexican government granted land to Jose Jesus and Sisto Berryessa. They built a hacienda and settled with cattle and breeding horses. They also raced those horses. The land gradually sold to Americans to pay off debts, including gambling debt. The last parcel owned by Sisto Berryessa and wife sold in 1860 at a sheriff's auction. In 1906, proposals were made to put a dam across the Beaver Creek and make a reservoir across this valley. In 1940 to 1948, the project made some headway. Sometime after 1951, Bureau of Reclamation launched Solano Project Monticello Dam. In 1948, the government had to choose between saving Berryessa Valley or flooding it to benefit Solano. Obviously, they chose the flooding, and the town of Monticello was lost under the lake. Lake Berryessa is the largest lake in Napa County, like I said earlier, and it's also the largest reservoir in California with water almost exclusively for one county. And at this point, we're starting to make a slight descent before having to climb up the other peak here. Once over this peak, you get more switchbacks heading down back toward the parking area. The views are well worth it at this point in the hike. And there are a lot of obstacles to overcome. but you almost don't even notice. And I was definitely feeling it in my legs at this point. I would definitely suggest wearing some sort of real hiking shoe or boot. I was wearing my steel toes. While they worked, they definitely weren't the most comfortable after about 5 miles of hike. And right here, we get our first real look at the Berryessa Lake. This is also where we set up and had a quick lunch. My favorite, peanut butter sandwiches. And what a view during the lunch it was. We did have some birds visit us, and I'm pretty sure the hummingbird wanted my sandwich. Lake Berryessa would make a great day trip if you're ever in the Napa area. A lot of things to be done, a lot of water sports, fishing, boating. Lake Berryessa also has a water runway for airplanes that are capable of water landing and takeoff. Very fun to watch if you ever get to go to the other side from where we currently are. The descent can be very steep, so I suggest taking your time. Don't let your legs get out from under you like I did a couple of times. Going too fast down the side of a mountain is never fun. Did run across a lot more people on this portion of the trail than we did during the Homestead Trail, but it was always in an area where it was pretty easy to step off to the side and let them pass. I always suggest letting the ones going uphill pass. If you're going downhill, you can get your momentum pretty easily. If you're heading uphill, not so easy to get that momentum going. Definitely got a lot of pictures of birds flying around, having fun, trying to take our food. This here is my little buddy Fred. He's a little skittish, didn't like to be touched. You will get plenty of great vistas while you're up here, so make sure to take the time and enjoy it. I would also suggest wearing longer pants. I wouldn't want to be walking through this brush in shorts. Now we're coming up on the 3-mile mark. And a little bit more of a climb. You can get a little slick in this area, as you can see. It's mostly all rock. So, as I said earlier, grippy hiking shoes or boots should be your preferred go-tos. There wasn't so much smog, that probably would have been a great look over the Sacramento Valley. Such a drastic difference from looking to my right and left, and how far you can view things. And our descent begins. At this point, you can definitely hear the boats out on the lake. We also heard a couple of airplanes. We're also getting back into the territory where you're going to be able to see a lot of the fire damage that was left over from the rag fire. Another great area to stop for lunch is right here. Nice flat open spot where you can either look over the Sacramento Valley or over the lake, depending on your view preferences. I prefer the lake myself. Heading down from here is where you start going into the switchbacks. They're a little bit more stretched out than the ones that were headed uphill with the stairs. You're alternating between having the sun in your face and on the back of your neck. Depending on the time of the year, make sure that you have sunscreen, because I did not. My neck was pretty happy about that. And as you head back into the valley, you'll start to pick up sounds of the cars on the road below us. You also have some nice views of the Butte Creek. Now we have more stairs. Definitely a favorite of mine, if you remember. Here we come up on some of the local wildlife, enjoying the weather and getting some sunbathing. It's a great time to get some good close-up pictures. There are a lot of really cool looking fire damaged trees. You're kind of walking through a reminder on this path down of what had come through, but you also have the new growth showing that everything is thriving. This is where I remind everyone to be very careful if you're going to have a campfire when you're out and about, or anything that's flammable. So these fires can be very devastating to the wildlife around the areas that you like to enjoy. Here we're at the 4-mile mark, where it does remind us to stay hydrated, so we decided to take a little water break before we headed down for the last mile or so. Just ahead, we're passing the 4 3/4 mile marker. Right around the corner from that, you do have the bulletins posted like they were at the beginning of the Homestead Trail, but these are on the other side if you wanted to do the route reverse from the way we did it for this episode and the previous episode. A lot of great information on here. Make sure to take a look and read it through. I'm going to take a right here to head back to the parking lot. There's a little bit more of a downward climb and a couple little switchbacks before you finish up the trail. coming up on a creek crossing. There wasn't much water here, making it an easy crossing. I would suggest avoiding it if there is a good amount of water. After you come across, you're right back where the Homestead Trail started. You'll take a left to head back to the parking area. Here you just follow the path back out to the main road. You will have to cross the street to get back to the parking area. It was a beautiful day and a beautiful hike. I hope you guys enjoyed our first 2 episodes. There will be plenty more to come as I am setting up plans currently to explore a lot of new things for you, both old favorites and things that I have never seen before. Hopefully we'll have some fun along the ride. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know of places that you would like to see.